If you struggle with wondering what is the best shades for me, for my skin tone, for my eye color, I don't know what eyeshadows to choose. Well, this is for you. Well, I create 3 different looks and going over and teaching you guys each look that is best for every eye color and every skin tone with the Natasha Denona Glam palette. Make sure to stay to the very end to see all 3 looks. I'll be starting off with the look that's gonna be best if you're fair with colored eyes. I'm gonna be sticking to the cool tones and more of a natural, everyday type of look. Using the shade called Transition, I'll place that just on my lid. And this is really great, again, if you are fair with colored eyes, because a lot of times when you are fair, you tend to have a more rosy undertone. Not always, but a lot of times you do. People with a fair and rosy undertone will typically turn their pH, it just happens. Their body will turn the colors more orange, not in a flattering way. And so it's best to stick with tones that are more cool, so they have more of that gray in the undertone. They are a little bit more taupey. Using the shade called Crease. Again, really great daytime look. This palette is so versatile. I really use it on every skin tone, every undertone, every eye color that you can think of. One of Natasha's best-selling palettes, and I am gonna show you guys, and by the end of this you will understand why. And even though if you wanted to keep it just like this daytime, it would be totally fine, but I am actually going to add just a little bit of sparkle on the inner corner for some dimension. I know things when they are super matte, they can just look a little flat, a little, I don't want to say lifeless, but just a little shimmer, especially if you are someone who you are maybe not comfortable with a lot of shimmer. Putting it here in the inner corner is fantastic for that. This way you have that element of a pop, but it's not too overdone. Especially when you're fair, you have to be very careful of that because everything is more dramatic. It just appears more dramatic against your fair skin. And then of course, if it's a daytime look, we're not trying to, you know, go too crazy. And then I'll go back with the brush that I used for my crease and just blend. So that if you ever feel like something maybe is just a little too shimmery, a little too sparkly, a little too intense, take the same brush that you used if it's a lighter matte shade and just go over it with the sparkle so you can dull the intensity of the sparkle and customize it to your liking. I do like to have a little bit of depth near my lash line, and there is a color specifically just called lash line. All of the names, what's great about this palette is all of the names are actually where you could ideally place them. You don't have to feel like those are absolutes, but just a good idea of, hey, this eyeshadow would look good here on the brow bone, in the crease, on the lash line, and so on. So I will take that shade Lash Line, which is a dark smoky matte gray, Just like I said, to create a little bit of depth so my eyes just don't look too bare with that light shade. And here we go. Definitely going to be the most natural look, so no lashes. Now this next look I'm going to be creating with you guys is going to be best if you have light medium to medium deep skin tone. But I really want you to focus on the undertone. So if you are warm or you are neutral, if you have honey, light brown, or hazel eyes, this look is going to be mwah, chef's kiss. So I'll be using the shade called Center Eyelid. Very gold look here. That's why I recommend it best for people with neutral or warm. So if you are neutral like me, or you're warm and you already have gold in your undertone, again, if you have honey or even green eyes, but mainly your undertone is not rosy. If you're rosy, this will appear too brassy, too overwhelming, and not complement your features. So this is the texture is, it's like more creamy. So I'm actually gonna use my finger to place it on my lid, but you guys see how like very gold. It's like a very brassy type of gold. So really best if you are a light medium up to like a medium deep. This will just be so beautiful. If you are really deep, just know because it's so bold, it won't look as natural. If you're looking for your eyes to really stand out, you can, but just know it will appear quite impactful. So just depending on how dramatic you want to be. Now I will go in with a warmer shade. Let me find a crease brush. This warmer shade, it's actually just called Blend. A very light, I would say a mix between a camel and tangerine. See how it's like not crazy orange, but definitely not on the cool side. Now, if you are like me and you're neutral, cools and warms can complement you and you can rock both. But I find for me, anytime I wear warm, I really think it just really makes my features pop a little more. So if I want to be more subdued and maybe I'm in a professional setting, I'll stick with cools. And if I want to really stand out, I'll choose warms. I want that same color that I put in my crease, and I'm gonna add it to the bottom here, my lash line. I actually think I wanna do some wing liner, make it a little more dramatic. So I'll take that same color called Lash Line that we used earlier with a angled brush, and then I will use that to create more of a smoky liner effect. I'll be marking where I want my placement for my wing. I was gonna say arrow for my wing. And then connect the line from there. So marking my little spot and then dragging, I'll spray. Just pulling it inward. I don't want it to be too dramatic, so that's why I'm just gonna stick with powder. And I'll just continue to add whatever you feel comfortable as far as depth-wise. Keep adding until you feel like you have reached your perfect saturation. It's always good to just like kind of take a little step back, because sometimes when we are looking at something very closely, it can appear extremely crooked. Now I get we all don't have symmetric faces. We have to live with it. We're not Gigi Hadid. But when you take a step back, you can say, okay, this looks even. If you're too close, everything's gonna look crooked and it'll just ruin your life, okay? Just let it go. Take a step back. I like where this is at, so I'm gonna leave it here and clean up the fallout. Final look for the shadow that is best. For light to medium, medium deep skin tone, neutral to warm undertone, honey hazel, or light brown eyes. For the final look, this is going to be geared to people who are medium up to very deep. So if you have darker features like mine, your hair is very dark, your eyes are very dark. I mean, I feel like sometimes my eyes almost look black. So if that's you, this is gonna be your look. I'm gonna start off, I want something a little more dramatic, a little bit more smoky. Again, going against features that are a little bit on the deeper and darker side. It's not as dramatic. So you could add a little bit more drama and it's still gonna look really great. It's not gonna look too overwhelming for your features. And I'm gonna start with the crease. So I'll mix the smoke and blend shades. I want a little bit of cool and warm. And normally I do wear primer because my eyes get so greasy. But since I'm taking off so many looks and reapplying, I am just going with a teeny bit of concealer. The first look, I actually didn't have anything on, which is a testament to how well and how amazingly pigmented and easy these shadows go on. Unless you have a real issue with your eyes getting greasy like I do, I don't really think primer is necessary. The shadow should be pigmented enough to stand on its own, or a little concealer is always okay. Again, if you are not a grease bucket, I'm a grease bucket. So now I will be going with the shade. It's actually called, oh, there's a few called Outer Eyelid, but I'm gonna be going with this warm brown here. I might do a little mixing and maybe add this on top, this one here, just because it's such a beautiful sparkle. Typically, if you are doing such a dark, dramatic kind of an eye, I would definitely start with eyes first, so you don't have to worry about the fallout. What You guys, look at that. Like, what a beautiful, beautiful brown. Oh my goodness. Her shadows, worth every penny. It's a pretty penny, but they're worth it. And I'm really just gonna keep that really dark shimmery towards the bottom part of my lid. So trying to keep it just really close to the lash line and not like bringing it up into the crease. Placement wise, you don't really need to bring it higher than your lid, especially when it's something a little bit more dramatic, because you can always go back with the brush, and when you start blending it out, it's naturally gonna rise up anyways. For some more drama, I'm gonna be adding some eyeliner. This is the Charlotte Tilbury's Rockin' Coal. It's always good to just add that intense depth near the lash line so everything can appear super smoky, really beautiful, and dramatic. Now, I don't need to go all the way in because similarly, like with the placement down here, you blend, it's naturally gonna go inward anyway, so. I want to add a little shimmer, so I'm gonna go with this one that's called Inner Corner, but this one here. It's the one that looks a little bit more on the rose gold side. I think that will look better with this type of brown because this brown is a little bit more warm. And so the other Inner Corner shade is a little more silver, a little more cool. Just really trying to marry them together so you don't really see that transition. Everything just looks really blended and seamless. The look best suited for medium to deep skin tones with dark brown eyes. Just enough drama, but not too much. There you go, friends. I hope that I convinced you that this Natasha Glam palette is the best palette for any eye color, any skin tone. If you were struggling to find a palette, well, I think you already know what you should go buy. Thank you guys so much. Of course, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Thanks again. Mwah. Toodaloo.